happening.
Hey there everybody, and welcome back to more Silent Hill Downpour. Well, in today's update, we are going to be taking our first cautious steps into the Otherworld, and we are going to see the somewhat unique approach that Downpour has to the Otherworld experience. Now, as we'll be seeing as we venture through the Otherworld, is that in Downpour it is a fairly linear experience, but for all its linearity, it does make up for it quite a bit by having some pretty striking visual effects and some pretty exciting set pieces that we will be seeing fairly shortly. We also see here one of the first instances of a fixed camera angle. We won't be seeing these too often, and I'm actually pretty glad about that, as the controls can be a bit confusing due to the fixed camera, and the fact that the controls don't really accustom themselves very well to it.
Run!
We also see here another new key feature of the Downpour Otherworld, and that is this almost black hole-esque thing behind us called the Void. Now the Void does not kill us instantly, it just does a bit of damage that does slow us down and causes Murphy to scream out in a very unique screaming noise. We can actually slow it down by throwing obstacles in its way, but well, much akin to Shattered Memories, we really have no other choice but just to keep running. Thankfully, considering that this is pretty much a tutorial area for the Otherworld, it's really not too difficult to get away from. And from one action-oriented set piece, we get sent straight into another one. Yeah, this sliding area is pretty out of place in the world of Silent Hill. It's really not a series known for its action set pieces. And this one especially just really seems out of place, but you know, I can't argue too much with a good slip and slide.
What is this place?
But after all that excitement, the game does give us a little opportunity to catch our breath and take in some more terrifyingly twisted sights. In this very large room, we do see the continuation of a number of themes already brought up in the game, such as water, but also, you know, just the bars and isolation and confinement that we would have seen in prison. And what better way to accent that feeling of confinement than the subtle irony of a phonograph playing Born Free. continuing with the fairly linear gameplay aspects that we will be seeing in future Otherworlds, this present Otherworld doesn't have too much in the way of puzzles or difficulty. Especially in this particular section, it's merely finding different switches on linear pathways. I still really do enjoy the overall visual aspects of this room. It does seem to combine the aspects of a home along with just the prison aspects that I'm sure Murphy's mind is very much accustomed to by this point. But just as quickly as we enter this room, it is time for us to finally leave it. And from one interesting room to one of the first rather lackluster design decisions in the game, we come across this particular room and another visit from the void in what I can only assume to be a completely unnecessary situation where they just force us to take damage. Now in this case, we get our pathway shut off and we quickly find the switch to open it back up. But to the avid eye viewer, they'll immediately see that, well, we just run directly back around in a circle while being forced to just take damage from the void. There's really no way to avoid the damage in the situation, but it can be tense the first time around. Just like that, we find ourselves in a little disconcerting area. You may notice it seems like we're not actually making any headway going up the stairs, and, well, that's because we are in a repeating loop. The only way to get out of it is to figure out that we can't go up, and instead just have to head back down. And just like that, we have safely survived our first journey through the Otherworld.
Did that really just happen?
But that is not to say that we got out of that situation completely unscathed. As you can probably tell by Murphy's back, we did take a little bit of damage. But by the use of one of our medkits, we can make all that nasty blood just completely disappear. And we also now find ourselves in that building that was adjacent to the diner. Hopefully that now means we can make our way into the backyard and figure out just what happened to that arcade machine that was at the Sky Tram. But nothing is ever that simple in the world of Silent Hill, and it seems that we will have to find a few keys littered somewhere around this dilapidated house. Also, by a bit of scrounging about, we do find a med kit to replace the one that we had to use for that Otherworld. But thankfully it does appear that the house is indeed empty. I can't assume that the residents of this place would really appreciate us just barging in and taking things. But this is actually the key that we need for getting upstairs. So before we check that door over there, we're just going to take a little detour and check and see what was waiting for us upstairs. So we have 3 doors to choose from. I think I'll start with this closest one first.
Remember, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything.
That is quite a nugget of wisdom, even though I still don't really understand what it's getting at. But as we do search through these individual rooms, I do feel like they each tell their own little individual story. This one in particular seems to really state a sense of disarray, but amongst all these drawers we actually do find a useful item. And that is a power cord for an appliance. Now, there doesn't seem to be any appliances in this room, so I assume that maybe there might be something downstairs in the kitchen, or maybe it might actually be somewhere a little bit closer. Now, it might not be very instantly clear, but on the windowsill over here we do find an electric kettle, and it does give us an option to use something in our inventory, so let's just go ahead and use that power cord we found in the previous room. And by getting the steam going, we do find that there is a 5-digit code etched into the frost on the window here. I'm just going to keep that in mind as we go and head towards the final room on this floor.
Hello?
And what do we find behind our final door but another empty room and a dog carcass. That is just lovely. I'm glad we made our journey up here. But outside of the dog carcass, there is something more important waiting for us right back here in this room, and that is our very first wall safe of the game. Now, we are going to be running across quite a few of these throughout the game, and we've already actually got the code for this one, but, well, getting the code is the lesser of our problems in this case. As we'll be seeing whenever we turn the second dial, it does cause the 3 and 4 dial to move as well in a different direction. So that just means that we are going to have to move the 3 and 4 dial into different spots than where they are inevitably going to have to be. And after we move them into their proper and particular spots, all we have to do is move the 2 and 5 dial, and we'll have our code in place. And what is our reward but our very first ranged weapon of the game? Yeah, the Colt 45 is pretty much our baseline pistol for the game. It doesn't really have that much stopping power, and it really doesn't have that much of a clip, but, well, it is better than nothing, and it will take up our range slot for our weapon, so we'll just go ahead and holster that away. Especially considering that, as of right now, we are pretty low on bullets, and we will be for quite some time. But with all of the upstairs area explored, I think it's time to head back down into the kitchen and see what was behind that door that we had yet to investigate. And what do we find waiting for us but access to the basement? Now, while the basement may seem pretty much the creepiest dead-end place that we can possibly find in any house, it actually does bear fruit in this particular situation.
Looks like a way out.
Yeah, looks like we have found an elevator back up to the surface.
Panel's busted.
But yet again, things can just not be that easy for our hero Murphy.
Inmate transfer bus headed northbound with 13 inmates and 2 COs. Officer failed to check in and drivers not answering radio. Possible TC. Over.
And we also see here our first instance of where the walkie-talkie will actually come in useful.
I don't have much time.
Yeah, that little piece of narrative there we would not have gotten had we not turned on the walkie-talkie and picked it up back on the gas station roof. But in all reality, it doesn't really add much to the story other than tell us that the bus is indeed missing. Also, we find what appears to be a rather decrepit looking and dirty living area. And if you were wondering if the person living down here matched the decorum, you would be very right about that. As we look at this particular new mystery, we see that whomever was living down here was actually watching and stalking and cataloging the various women that happen to stay in this place. But outside of the filth and grime, we actually do find what we came looking for, which is a piece of wire that we should hopefully use to repair that elevator.
Like that, bitch. Come on, bitch. Fucking get back up. You wanna fucking try that again? Come on, bitch. Let's see what you fucking got. Pinche cabrona. Fucking get up, bitch. Ne chinga conmigo, puta. Hey! Let go, asshole. You don't understand.
And due to our interference, it appears that Sanchez is now dead, and we actually meet our first enemy of the game. This lovely young lady is known in the game as a screamer, and while to some degree you might assume that it's just because of the screaming she is currently doing at us right now, it's actually for something that we will be seeing for later on in the update. Right now, though, we should just bask in the awkwardness that is the combat of Downpour. Yeah, as you could probably tell, it's actually pretty hard to read the attack patterns of the Screamer, and, well, even the baseline enemy, which is the Screamer, actually caused us quite a bit of damage there. Sadly, at this point in the game, we just really don't have that many options in regards to weapons, and for the most part, the wrench is pretty much our best choice, considering that it is metal, and it does quite a bit of damage, and, well, it lasts longer than most of the other things that we can come by. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and repair the elevator and get the hell out of here.
Bingo. Finally. Back outside.
Now it seems that even outside of the rooms for rent inside of the house proper, it seems that there are quite a few additional lodgings out here, and we do have access to explore quite a few of them. And while they do seem empty for the most part, there are a few little items in some of the drawers and cabinets. Now I could pick up the meat cleaver, but it is a bit of a slow weapon, and yet again, the wrench is probably our best choice for right now. Oh, more importantly though, as we explore this particular room, we find an answer to one of the objectives that we actually got a bit earlier in the game, and that is to find a new set of duds.
Nice. Huh? What's this? A long time since I had real clothes.
Yeah, hopefully with our new set of civilian clothes we won't stand out as much as our prison garb would have made us. We also got two rather unique items in the pockets of the clothes, which was a small rusty key, but more stand-outish was the fact that we got a badge with a black cover on it. This is normally to denote a mourning period for a officer or a member of the law. I don't know, maybe whoever owned these clothes before had a relative that died in a law enforcement position. Also, we put to instant use that key we just found. And that allows us access to the area that we had previously been blocked off from, but more importantly, we can now actually continue our journey to find whatever happened to that arcade machine.
Power's out. Wonder where the breaker is.
Well, thankfully the answer to that problem is not too far away, and it's pretty much as simple as following the cords running from the arcade machine to wherever they might lead. But yeah, if you were wondering why we had not run into any more enemy encounters, it was just the game putting you into a false sense of security, as we got set up for a little bit of a cat scare there. We also saw one of the other unique abilities for the Screamer, and that it is actually able to jump onto your back, causing us one of the first quick time events of the game.
What the hell?
But with that Screamer dispatched, we can now hopefully power on the breaker without any more problems or shortcomings. Also, after taking in the lovely sights, decide to just go ahead and go back to our little arcade machine. Now, this particular arcade machine is just a little bit of a time waster and a small hurdle for us to get that tram ticket. Also, there is a, I guess, small inside joke in the fact that we are playing a water-filled game called Jailbreak. But the idea of this little mini-game is not too difficult to get down. All we have to do is float the ball up to its corresponding hole at the top there. And there are a few little pit holes around the way that will just cause the ball to go back down to the bottom. Really not that difficult, and there is a hard mode version of this little puzzle, but all it does is add in more holes.
Yes. Now back to that sky tram.
And just like that, we can now hopefully get to the sky tram and make our way one step closer to our ultimate goal of just getting the hell out of this place. But as we make our way back to the sky tram, you can kind of tell that the storm is getting even worse, and that means that we are going to have to deal with the repercussions of an increasing storm, and that means that we have more aggressive enemies, and we also have an increasing number of enemies. And in this case, as you just saw, we actually saw the special ability of the Screamer, which is a long-distance scream which paralyzes Murphy temporarily, allowing other Screamers or nearby enemies to get the drop on him. That's why in most cases, whenever you have multiple enemies trying to get on your junk, it's usually best just to run for the hills.
This must be the ticket machine. Wherever this thing goes, can't be worse than back there, can it?
And just like that, we've reached the Devil's Pit, where hopefully you will join me next time as we continue on in more Silent Hill Downpour.